Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Live from My Drum Room. My guest today is the legendary Greg Errico, original drummer and a founding member of Sly and the Family Stone. Man, this was such a fun episode. Greg gives us some incredible insights and background on those iconic Sly and the Family Stone songs, how he came up with the drum parts. We do a breakdown on several of those songs during the show. We talk about their appearance at Woodstock, which was 55 years ago this year. So come along for the ride. I know you're really going to enjoy this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the other side. So please welcome the great Greg Errico. And it's great to see you, and thank you for being here.
Good to see you. I love your drum room too. It reminds me of the one I had last year. That one looked like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, your drum room's pretty great too, and that's a beautiful DW set you have back there. Man,
Thank you.
yeah. I feel like I know you because I've been following you and listening to you for so many years. And I know we were just talking before we started the show that you're self-taught. You started around age 14?
Yeah, I
Does that
did.
sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just did you play in a few bands before you formed, before Sly and the Family Stone started? Had you?
Well, I was 17 and a half when we started the group.
Yeah.
And let me just see. Hang on. Okay. And oh, there it is. Okay. Um, and so 14 when I started playing. And I started playing, with some guys in the neighborhood, like in beer joints and stuff like that. Then when I guess would have been 16, I met Freddie through a guy named Leon Patilla. He had a group, and he asked me to come and his drummer was sick, and I went and sub with him a couple of times. And Leon was a vocalist with Santana during
Mm,
the 80s, I think, maybe
yeah. Okay.
for a while. And anyway, I met Freddie through, wow, I'm talking about Freddie. Now, I don't, Freddie Stone, Sly's brother, is a guitar player in the group. I, we keep in touch over the years, but barely, I mean, he's just MIA a lot,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
As I'm speaking to you about him, I get a text. I swear to
That's
God.
wild. That is wild. I knew you were going to say that.
I I don't know. That's like, he is a preacher, so he's connected with the man. And anyway, that's really neat.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. He was feeling your
I met,
vibes.
yeah, I met Freddie and through Leon because I went and sat in and he was sitting with him that night. And we were talking and it was cool. And I knew his brother from the radio show. Sly had a radio show, KSOL, KDIA back then. And really great show, fantastic radio show. He's very, he's bigger than life personality, as we all know.
Hmm.
And then a couple weeks later, it happened again. Leon called me, "Hey, my drummer's sick," and I went down, and so Freddie and I started talking. Freddie was there again, and he goes, "I want to start a group. You want to do something? You want to do it with me?" I said, "Yeah." Freddie and the Stone Souls. And so we were together about a year. And during that time, Sly had made a few attempts at starting, doing different ideas and starting a
Hmm.
group. They weren't working out. And then finally he had kind of handpicked a bunch of people and he was gonna get together one night and he went to Freddie, goes, "Look, I want you to come and do this with me, and you bring one guy from your group." And so, I says, and Freddie said, "I know who to bring." And so we met up at the house here in San Francisco, and we didn't even play the first night. We just talked about what we're going to do. And that was Larry Graham. We all met for the first time this one night. Larry, Sly, Freddie, Jerry, Cynthia. Rose wasn't in the group yet. And we were just kind of like digging this, at the time, this is December of 1966 to put
66.
the
Okay.
time
Yeah.
frame. And it was nothing like what we were talking about and what we were about to do and what we physically were, black, white, male, female. It was really,
Yeah.
outside the box.
Unbelievable for
And
that time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then we started rehearsing. The next night we'd rehearse for a week straight and then we started gigging, you know, and
Wow.
we talked about, wanting to do our own thing, not But to go out and do gigs, we would have had to do some top 40 stuff then at the moment to get
Hmm.
hired. But
Sure.
whatever we did, we was going to put our stamp on it and just make it our own and do our thing to it. And then weave into doing, original material and so on and so forth.
So, so you guys, you started out like any band would. You started off playing covers to get the work, and then you're writing your own songs, and pretty quickly started playing original. By '68, right? You were playing, or even '67.
Oh, before that, yeah, we were
Yeah,
we were playing originals when we would weave those into our sets.
I see. Yeah, yeah,
Some new songs. They just got a new song, and and so that and by the by midway or the end, by definitely by the end of '67, we had recorded a whole new thing.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe late '67, yeah. That was our first record, and which was every musician had it, but nobody else had it. I mean, it just went
yeah,
over, it just went by everybody. The record, Columbia didn't know how to market it. Yeah, it just didn't know what to do with us. We stuck to our guns, and then remember Dave Kaferlik, who was the VP of Epic Records. Then he became our manager, and he went to Sly and he goes, "Look, you gotta." He goes, "This is fantastic. I believe in you guys. But you gotta connect. You gotta do a song where you could connect to the audience,
hmm
get them, get them to buy into it, get them to be with you, and then take them where you want
yeah,
with everything else you do." And so he did. And so we did dance to the music. Started thinking, what can I do to what's everybody relate to? What do they come with? Dance to the music. Let's all dance to the music, have fun, and have a good
yeah,
time. And introduce all the members in the band within the song, which
yeah.
it did. And then, and it's like Pied Piper, we took them on our trip, you know.
And what a when I think I was 67, I was 7 years old, and I have a strong recollection of what music was at that time, and that was such a uplifting song. You know what I mean? Like you hear that song today, and I was going to get to that too. All the music you guys made was so there's such joy in it. When you hear those songs, it's just and that's you, Greg. By the way, that's your groove and that's your feel that brings that. Sly wrote amazing songs, but you're
Yeah, he
playing.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's
Thank you.
so
I
much.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's so uplifting, and I was going to ask you maybe just to step back for a second. Who are some of the early influences? Who are some of the drummers you listened to, kind of along?
I, my first inspiration was
Wow,
Buddy
no
Rich.
kidding. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, big band jazz, right? Which I ironically was way later on was able to touch with different elements. And we'll get onto that later. But yeah, that was it. It was Buddy. And
yeah,
then, my brother was about 6 years older than me. So at the time it was 45 RPM
sure.
record,
Yeah,
that's, and
absolutely.
we had a player downstairs in the rumpus room where I had my drums. So I'd come home from school and I put on some JB, I put on some Wilson Pickett, some Aretha, some Ray
Yeah,
Charles,
yep,
listen to Xavier Cugat, some all kinds of stuff. I remember practicing a lot to Dave Brubeck's Take Five in
yeah,
five. I mean, and I don't know what that has to do with these other two. I mean, these are total groove tunes to
yeah,
playing in five, but I just dug it.
yeah,
I didn't gravitate. I didn't have any rules as far as what I should do, what I need to do, or anything. I just did what I felt all the time from the gut. So that was my MO.
yeah. Well, take five, Joe Morello. I mean, that even though it's in five, it's still grooves. I mean, I could totally
Oh
get where
yeah,
where you're
yeah.
coming from on that. And
Uh,
what when I listen to you play, I hear I definitely hear like an Al Jackson influence, and you kind of confirm that by Wilson Pickett and some of those that you were listening, and many other drummers, of course. But yeah, you can hear that soul, that comes through in that.
I just related to it. I felt that,
Yeah,
and but I took all those elements and I made them my own because I take it that feel, but then just naturally, you know, my take on it, my energy on it would dominate what it was,
yeah,
rather than try to emulate someone or I never really, that wasn't my goal to emulate someone, but to be inspired, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I would never, in listening to the way you play, I would never consider that it's emulating anybody. It's totally you. It's totally you. But you can hear that like you play for the song. I mean, we talk about that so much, but your feel and your groove is so song oriented. It's so about just supporting the rest of the music. It's
And
it's it's
I gotta
evident.
mention, which I've talked about this before, all the singles that we did. So, we'd cut tracks and stuff, and then the songs that the track they would morph into, well, different things, and how you develop when you as you go along in the recording process. And the singles, I would always go back in before mixing and lay drums down again. So I'd overdub my drum performance, but I would focus in on what this song has become compared to where it started when we laid the
Yeah.
track down. Okay. And a lot of times it
Wow.
was significantly different. And also it gave me the opportunity to, like you're saying, you're feeling that I had, I was playing for the song, which I really was. And I always looked at it, I had a vision, a picture of each section of the song.
Right.
And so this image is what I relate to, what I would play to, what it would feel like. And in our songs was there were a lot of there were a lot of elements that it went. It wasn't like just one jam or anything like that. It was like especially lyrically, there was a lot being said, and feel of each section, would address these things that you were saying musically. And so it gave me an opportunity to really to technicolor those things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's how we do all the singles were done like that.
So Greg, were you laying down a second drum track, like, or were you replacing the original with a different?
And so there's no click, there was no, well, there was a metronome back then, but there was no click tracks and,
Yeah,
MIDI machines or, it was all like,
right.
so I'd have I'd say sometimes I wouldn't even have, if it got in the way, I wouldn't have the original track, drum track. And so I, put the cans on, put everything up, bass, guitar, the B3 and everything, and just lock in with it and lay it
Yeah,
down. Um, so it was different than where it went to later on, and as
sure.
things morphed along and developed and got sophisticated and all that. So those things they're really organic, you know.
Really organic, and your parts always sound organic, always sounded and sound organic to me. And I was gonna ask you, in those days when you guys would go in to do a record, did you have all this? Were the songs all written ahead of time, and you'd go in and
No,
no,
no.
no, you
No, yeah. And I don't know if you meant that literally. I don't read, uh, and I didn't then, but but there were, it was written in my mind. Like I
yeah,
said,
yeah,
I would picture, I'd visualize a song and each section of the song. I'd have a clear picture in my mind. So I had my own charts in my head.
yeah,
But,
yeah. But like, but you guys have rehearsed like Dance to the Music? Like when you went in to cut that, did everybody kind of know the form of the song pretty well? And
sometimes yes, and
sometimes, yeah,
sometimes no. Uh, Here's an extreme example of thank you for letting me be myself.
yeah,
You know, that there were maybe a half a dozen or 10 versions of that, and one had nothing to do with the other. So this song was And I remember when we finally got the track that Sly was comfortable with, he came up to me, and goes, "Look, I'm going to go in for about 2 weeks to the studio by myself. And when I come out," he goes, "I'm going to blow you away. I could hear this. I know we got it now, and I could hear it, but he had to go develop it." And
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
all those the three string instrument parts that make up what that funk was, you know.
yeah.
There's two guitar parts and a bass part, and then the contrapuntal with the horns and everything. And I remember when he first played it, I go, "Yeah, you nailed it. You got it. That's it." And that's a funky track, man.
Oh man, is it ever? We're going to play that, and I was going to come
Yeah.
back and just play a little bit of dance to the music, and before we do that, I wanted to ask you when you. It's kind of a crazy question, and I apologize. I know you've done a million of these interviews and been asked probably all these questions before, and you're being a real sport about, not not saying to me, man, I've
Yeah.
had this question a million times, but it's so great to hear all these stories, from you. So thank you.
Yeah, you welcome. You welcome. I mean, I try. It's that could be a challenge sometimes because you think, well, I know what I'm going to ask, and yeah,
Yeah,
but you get past that, and I try to just be inspired in the moment, and it's actually come from you. So if you got a good person you're talking to, yeah, it might be the same question you've been asked a million times, but it's with an honesty and a true and a feel that I'll
yeah.
let that inspire my reflection on it, and so it's always fresh.
Great. Well, no, I appreciate that, and it's a
Yeah.
real genuine curiosity on my part because I'm such a fan, and I've been listening to you for so long. And I was going to ask you, man, you're considered a funk drummer. You're like one of the founding fathers with David Garibaldi and
Yeah.
Mike Clark and
It-
all the great funk drummers. Yeah.
yeah.
And did you, but I get the impression you really didn't set out that way. You didn't, it just sort of, did it sort of evolve because the music that you were playing called for that, or did it?
It's like the train stopped at my station and want to go? Yeah, okay. I mean, there was no sophisticated thought about it or anything. It's just totally like from the cuff, which I kind of that's kind of like how I roll,
Mhm.
I roll like that anyway. And then further down the road, with opportunities after I left Slywood, doing some amazing things with some amazing artists and groups, I had opportunities that I would have never dreamed. I mean, if I tried to do that, it probably, it wouldn't happen as well as
Yeah.
it did, you know?
Yeah, I know. And and we will get to that too. I mean, like playing with Weather Report to me is such a departure from Sly and
Yeah.
the Family Stone, And I mean, to be able to play in that band with Joe Zawinul and Wayne Shorter, I mean, but
And
yeah,
that
sorry, go
was my
ahead.
first, yeah, I had to say this. That was my first jumping back into it. When I left Sly, when I left the group in 71, I took a year off. I didn't tour, didn't do
Hmm.
anything. I bought a Harley and I was riding my bike, hanging out. And I was kind of, I was done. And that came along, and there's a longer story with it in front of it. But when that came along, you know, thinking back at it, I don't know what else would I, I mean, the group, all those singers in the group, Larry, Freddie, and Sly, and the horns and the songs, and just the energy that it was like, what was I going to do to,
Yeah,
it's like, you just got to come back with something. You got to something else, something new's got to inspire you. And that was the bomb. I mean, it
man.
could have been the people, the music, the whole experience was just, godsend, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And I got to think too that it kicked your ass a little bit too, and really, made you, like not that you needed that, but it really, I'm sure, made you
Well,
think differently. And
I can remember saying to Joe once, I go, damn, man, because he threw me in there. And it was like, and you would, rehearsals were so you'd learn with the intro how you got into the thing, and you learn how to get out. Everything in the middle was what happened when it happened
yeah,
every time. So, and it demanded and he wanted to infuse the kit I used on that was a Vista Light Ludwig kit with it was a big rock set. Nothing to do with,
Yeah.
with jazz, but he wanted that. He wanted the big sound. He wanted some rock. He wanted some high energy. And this was before Miroslav was playing, which was wonderful, really very different bass player
Yeah.
than anything I was used to. But he wanted to go there. It was before Jaco, which would have been cool. I would have liked to done something with Jaco, uh,
Okay. I was
but
going to ask that. Yeah.
that didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is really kind of early days of Weather Report then. It would have 72,
70,
73,
70, no, 74, I think. Yeah.
74. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
went toured Japan, Europe, and the States. And I never did a record with them. There's just some live bootleg recordings on the net that a lot of
Oh,
live
okay.
stuff. Yeah.
I'll have to look for those. But let's just jump back for 1 second and play Dance to the Music.
Okay.
Um, I know we got lots of folks watching. I want to mention to you that Stanley Sheldon and Joe Vitale are both watching, and they say hello to you.
Fantastic. Hi,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. Two great
Yeah.
musicians and heroes. All right,
Yes,
here we
absolutely.
go. Yeah.
I'm gonna add a little guitar and make it easy to move your feet. I'm gonna add some bottom so that the dancer just won't hide. You might like to hear my organ. I sit right solid right now. Cynthia, Jerry, if I could hear the horns blow, Cynthia on the throne, yeah. Listen to me, Cynthia and Jerry got a message that says, all the squares, listen to the voices.
Oh man,
Joy.
what I mean, what my ultimate gig would be like a tribute band playing all those songs. You know what I mean? At my age now, 63 years old, if I could play those songs every night, it would be like a dream to me. To
Joyful, and in the audience, it just connects. I mean, that was the whole point into the song. And, I guess we really nailed it because it's still relevant. It still works. It's still
yeah,
that spirit, you know.
and that was the one, Greg, right? That was the one that really sort of broke through for you guys. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that was the first hit. Yeah. I remember when we first heard it in the radio, we were all in the station wagons and back east, on a small club tour. And it came on and we just pulled over and we're like yelling, screaming and it always sounded so different on the radio because it had, that the vocal breakdown and all that. I mean, it was really
Yeah,
different than what you were hearing.
absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
And thinking about the music from that time,
yeah.
the drums were mixed differently than a lot of bands mixed drums in those days. I mean, the snare drum is
Well,
so
that
present.
was yeah, that was a turning point where drums were mixed more out in front of the record in your face, and everything was on top of that. Because really before that period, drums were just, the rhythm in the song.
Right.
They weren't they weren't an in your face thing, more or less. But right about at the same period, then Zepp came out and
Yeah.
laying it down, big sound, and it really changed during that late '60s period. Drum
Absolutely. Yeah.
more of a predominant feature in a song, music that you heard on the radio.
Yeah. And all your songs, certainly all the like the hits that you hear on the radio even still today definitely have you're very present in the mix. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
it's such a featured instrument. And it
yeah.
sounded like, not to get overly drum nerdy, but your bass drum sounds like you were playing the front head on the bass drum. It sounded very kind of natural, organic, little boom to it.
I I
Would you?
did I did both. Live I played. I love playing with the front head on, and then later on, cut the hole in it and all that. And I never dug, doing with the pillow and all that, and
Yeah.
pulling it and stiffening it up. I like
Yeah.
the open sound, even like snare, the kick, the toms, where you have some little bit of legato. Not too long, because then,
Yeah.
especially in funk, where you got like, eighth and 16th notes, and they start to collide with each other. It's got to be defined. So I started cutting. I'd cut. I'd get newspaper, and I'd cut strips, and well, put it like a little, like a mouse home, and stick it inside the bass drum.
Wow.
So it didn't just stuff it. It didn't. I'm lost for the word. It didn't make it too dead. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get but the note stopped. So you still get that live sound, but it stopped instead of going,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I liked all my snare drum. I like the same way. I liked it to love the ring. I had a metal Ludwig, super, what was it? The super dynamic chrome.
Yeah. Superphonic.
Yeah.
Was it the deep one or the short one?
I use both. I use a 5 1/4, and then I did have a 6 1/2 for a while that I
Yeah.
used. And then I had got this piccolo, which I love that sound. And like later on, I started getting, I would get a snare drum stand, and because the piccolo you can't use everywhere. I mean, the
Yeah.
voice is specific, and when that comes in, it's like, but you can't use it everywhere. So I'd get a
Yeah.
second stand, put it right alongside the hi-hat, and I could go to that when I wanted that. And use the 5 1/4 most of the time.
Yeah. It's a perfect size. And it's like that's your sound. You can hear that. It's that nice, it's small enough to be that tight sound that you get, but still has lots of body to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I still like it today.
Yeah. Talking about, you're talking about like eighth notes, 16th notes, Hot Fun in the Summertime, one of the all-time greatest grooves ever. I mean, and I'm sure the great Jeff Porcaro.
No, I was just gonna say Jeff. Yeah,
Yeah, God,
yeah,
I didn't know Jeff well, but I knew him a little bit, and he was such a loving and humble man, and he'd always give you credit and say,
yeah.
yeah, Hold the Line was based on Greg Errico's Hot Fun in the Summertime. And I'm going to play that song because everybody knows that song, and it's such a great song, man. And that, with all respect to Sly, I mean, I'm sorry, but that hi-hat part makes the song. That is the song to me.
Well, everybody, that was what's one of the cool things about the group, is everybody had a voice that compiled, that was part of the whole. Larry Graham's bass, and Cynthia and Jared Freddie's rhythmic playing was amazing, and it really made it comes together and made something that was bigger than this sum of its parts. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're
And
you're so
the time I
welcome.
met Jeff, first thing he said to me, "Come here, man. Let me tell you."
He put his arm around you, I'll bet, and
Yeah,
and that voice, that low voice, man, man, I stole that from you,
I
Yeah.
remember here when I first heard the record, I go, "Okay, cool, Jeff, man, bring it."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
his twist on it, it was very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. In fact, I'm going to play a second of that after we play Hot Fun in the Summertime.
Yeah,
And
all
yeah,
right.
I think it'd be kind of cool to hear the two back to back. But man, this song, and if people don't think of summer when they hear this song, I don't know what would make you think of summer, because to me
Yeah,
this is, and it came out in the summer, I think, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, of
There
course.
was some intent there, I think.
All right, here it comes. Hot Fun in the Summertime. The great Greg Errico on drums.
End of the spring, and here
Man.
she comes back. High, 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 high. Them summer days, those summer days. That's when I have most of my fun back. High, 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 them summer days, those summer days. I cry nights when I want to, out of school, yeah. County fair in the country sun, and everything is true. First of the fall, and then she goes back. Bye, 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 them summer days, those summer days. When I want to, out of school. County fair in the country sun, and everything is cool. Oh yeah.
But man, I mean, the way you hold that so steady, the groove is so just in there, in the pocket.
It's a hard groove to play.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I don't know how to put it, but it's like you got to be in a certain place, otherwise you could stiffen up and it just doesn't flow. You got to be really relaxed and kind of let it flow through you. It's difficult. It's not just, like dance to
Yeah.
music,
Right.
down. You're just playing the time and you're, pushing things and all that. It's different groove, I guess, because of the 60th notes and the anticipated bass drum kick and those kind of
Right.
things.
All those things. And it's the entire song too. You don't really ever, there's one spot or two where you get a little break where you come off the closed hi-hat and you maybe play the ride for a second.
No, well, I play on the 2 and 4 the crash cymbal.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
I think I don't remember if I'm playing
Maybe I thought I heard early on
Right.
or
Yeah.
but nevertheless, like you say, it's you've got to really just kind of relax and
Yeah.
just get in that zone and do it. And
Yeah.
and also there's parts in there that I'm sure people heard that I, as a drummer, I love this stuff where you open the hi-hat in a couple of places where the effect of just a little bit of wash, and then it really, when you tighten it back up, it makes it boom, we're back into this part now, you know?
Right. And
Yeah.
there's a couple of my friends nicknamed me Hi-Hat because that's very it's a good point you made because it's a very specific thing and very important in
Yeah.
what you're doing and executing the groove. This play, it really speaks. It's very specific where it's really
Very. Yeah.
staccato or where it's loose and transitions thereof in between. They're very
Exactly.
yeah.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's so tasty the way you do that, the way you just, and it brings it
Like,
right back in there. And yeah, and I was going to ask you, when you first heard that song and you were coming up with the part, did you immediately feel the 16th note part? Did it just happen that way, or did you? Because
uh,
it could have been like a shuffle almost too, if you wanted it to be like an
I
eighth note.
don't remember when we first put that together, how that came about, where it came from. Because usually, I mean, Sly would be playing the B3, so anything that he would be expressing would come from that or introducing to us or whatever. And I don't remember specifically, but I have to assume that 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 feel was specifically talked about. Yeah, but I can't remember specifically, but it is like, it's not a shuffle, it's not straight forward, there's a swing to it.
Real swing to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And at the end of it too, when you're playing those crash cymbals, as you said, in the two and the four, that part really swings. That's where you
yeah.
can hear some. Yeah.
And actually, if you think about, so Hot Fun in the Summertime, that groove, and you think about Sex Machine, it's that same kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
remember what we did first. And it could have been referred to when he was introducing that song to us. And I don't remember.
I'll play a little bit of Hold the Line.
Anyway, yeah,
Let's hear a little bit of that,
yeah.
and this will be Jeff Bucaro's homage to the great
Yeah.
Greg Errico.
Yeah, that's a big old quad to it.
Yeah.
It's not in the way you say you care. It's not in the way you've been treating my friends. It's not in the way that you stay to the end. It's not in the way you look or the things that you say that you do. For the line, love isn't always on time. Oh, oh, oh. For the line, love isn't always on time. Oh, oh, oh. It's not in the words that you told me were. It's not in the
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm hearing that, it's like actually there's more of what I was doing in Sex Machine in there, which is like I said was similar, but Hot Fun in the Summertime was more people could relate to if you mentioned that. But that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing more of Sex Machine. Yeah, definitely. The
Yeah.
more I think about it, it's definitely patterned after that. You sped that up, yeah.
Yeah.
If you sped that up,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Absolutely.
it's
Man.
tempo wise, it's a lot faster, but that's more of the groove. And then they had that 4-beat plot in there, which just the groove, man. It's awesome
Yeah.
groove.
Absolutely. And it's funny too, the keyboard part and the intro of Hold the Line is kind of based on the intro to
Yeah,
Hot Fun in
yeah,
the Summer. Yeah, yeah. It's
yeah,
I sort of never really put that together even,
yeah.
either, but that's yeah, is just such an amazing drum composition to me. I just every time I hear it, I'm talking about Hot Fun in the Summertime.
Thank you again. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And to just jump ahead for a second, like Everyday People, which is kind of your almost like your anthem. I think this song is so masterful in the way you played this so simply but so groovy and so solid, and you do those little fills at the end of the measure. Sometimes you don't hit a crash. In fact, I don't think you really hit a. I think you just do those little on the tom toms.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty straightforward.
yeah,
Larry always says I play one note. That's he plays this one note throughout the whole thing. One note, one groove, and doesn't let off of it. You know.
I just love the feel of this song, Greg. I just love. It's one of those songs that I think as a drummer, it's deceptive. It sounds like it's an easy song. It's obviously, you would be the first to say it. You're not playing anything technical, but it's the groove, it's the feel, and to try to make it feel the way you make it feel.
It's yeah. Again, you play for the song, and again, I always had an image literally in my mind. It's got a picture. I should someday try to. I don't know. It's probably too late to recall those pictures, but that would be probably visually interesting to see what they were. I don't know what they were, but I know I had.
Oh man, well I'm going to play a little bit of this if that's okay with you. Everyday
Yeah,
People. Yeah, here we go.
absolutely.
Sometimes I'm right and I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, a banker, a drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. I am everyday people. Yeah, yeah.
There is a blue one who can't accept the green one for living with the bad one, trying to be the skinny one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on and Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
We got to live together. I am no better, and neither are you. We are the same, whatever we do. You love me, you hate me, you know me, and then you can figure out the bag I'm in. I am everyday people. Yeah, yeah.
There is a long hair that doesn't like the short hair for being such a rich one that will not help the poor one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on and Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
We got to live together.
There is a yellow one that won't accept the black one, that won't accept the red one, that won't accept the white one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on and Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
I am everyday people.
Such a great message too. It was at a time when it was important to talk about stuff like that too.
Yeah,
And it still is
absolutely.
today.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's still
But
relevant. And just listening to this now, it's funny because so the dominant pulse is coming from Larry thumping, and
yeah,
it's eighth notes, but it's not just boom 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 boom. It's boom 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 boom. He thumps it. He
yeah.
accents that boom 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 boom, the four, and I'm not playing that. I'm actually playing more complicated thing, but it's not predominant in the mix. But if I played at straight four, it would never have felt like it feels. I'm
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
playing the 1, 2, 3 bass drum, boom, bop, boom, 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 boom. I'm playing all that.
No
It's not,
kidding. Yeah,
but with his pulse on the bass and when I'm playing, and it makes you lay the snare drum in different places as opposed to if you were just playing, straight four. So it don't, and then with the hi-hat, it just creates this other thing, this juice,
yeah, yeah. That's what it is. And I always think of that song as you being. It feels like, and maybe it's because Larry's a little not busier, but you. It feels like you're a little behind the beat. You're like a little. You're like
Totally.
relaxed and
Yeah.
back, and
And
it
that happens
creates.
a lot.
Yeah, it's so great, Greg. The sort of tension, but the play between the two of you guys is like
Yeah.
this. Yeah, it's genius, man. It's
Yeah,
like
that's what creates those feels. Sometimes it's a push, sometimes it's right at the bottom of the grooves, and sometimes it's pulling back, and
yeah,
there's that constant yin and yang tension,
that's what it is.
it
Yeah,
makes these things. And you got to be, you know, that's where confidence comes in when you're playing with someone, because if you're doing that and the guy just trying to, emulate what you're doing literally, it ain't gonna work. No,
yeah,
you
yeah,
stay here and I'm gonna go over here and pull you. And it's that tension that happens when you just know that that's where you're locked into that spot. That's what creates it.
yeah.
It makes a big difference.
And I'll bet you guys never even really sort of consciously or discussed it, right? I mean, it felt that way.
Ex-
Yeah,
We never discussed it. We never
yeah,
thought. We just was eye-to-eye contact. We just knew without ever talking about these things. You know, uh,
yeah. That's the
that's
best way.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
organic and I mean all your music sounds that way to me. When I listen to it, and I it just it sounds like it all came together like as a unit. I know Sly wrote the tunes, but it sounds like you came up with your part, Larry
Yeah,
came up with this part.
precisely. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a real collaborative effort amongst
yeah.
everybody, and yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, did you? I asked this question to other artists like yourself that have created this incredible music that stands the test of time, and so many of these songs we're talking about are coming up to 60 years old. And did you have any idea at the time? I know, isn't that wild that you were creating music that would last, that would be all these years later, it's as popular as it was then, and it's like generations continue to listen to this music.
No way that we, you know, have any realization of that or even conceive it. I mean,
Yeah.
we just knew we liked what we were doing. We felt good about it and all that, but we had no idea. And really, as decades go on, you realize you acknowledge this in a different way.
Hmm.
It's, um, it's not just one meaning. It doesn't mean just one thing. It's just like, wow, there's new layers of meaning and spirit that come with it that are present, as time goes on, you know. And
Yeah.
it's weird to play when you go out, play like now younger generations. If you mention Sly and the Family Stone, they may not, yeah, who's that? But if you play a song, we say, oh, that's that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. The music really just stands the test of time and just keeps reinventing itself with young people, new generations, and it's really something.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Honored to be
something.
part of it.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I love that you're, I mean, you can look back at it and be proud of it, and know that
Yeah,
you really contributed something so major and so important. And to your point about, younger generations, and I know a lot of the music's been sampled, and they
yeah,
might, they might not know right away who Sly and the Family Stone is, but then they hear a song and they go, oh, I know
yeah.
that song from something else,
Yeah.
and that's
That's
pretty, yeah.
that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and this year, as I'm sure you know, is 55 years since the anniversary of Woodstock,
Mhm.
and you guys were there. And I mean, can you maybe just share some memories of what that was like, and that whole.
Funny because I just watched, there's movies, dramas, documentaries, the actual original three different versions of Woodstock.
Yeah.
Um, and the other night I watched, um, it was a doc on all the people, besides, including Michael, of course, Michael Lang, that were in the peripheral that worked with Michael.
Mhm.
And it was really, you know, the only way that that came together as it did is really, again, the sum of all the parts,
Yeah.
because the timing and things that happened and challenges they had, and that's what made it end up where it was, because it almost didn't happen a lot of times. It was a lot of things, but Michael was really driving the car. Michael Lang was really driving the
Mhm.
car, as far as he was just like, he never got scared or frightened or go, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Like just had this smile on his face and just, saying that, well, we got this, it'll be cool. And maybe he had probably no idea what was gonna happen, or like how he's gonna, manage to pull this next challenge off. But it was really I forgot the name of it. It's just the other night I watched it, and
Yeah.
I found it to be fascinating. And most of those, like at the end of it, they're rolling the credits, and it was in memory of, and three-quarters of them gone, including
Yeah. Man.
Michael.
Michael.
Just-
Yeah. Somewhat recently, right? A few years ago, or
yeah, a couple of years ago
yeah.
he passed. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What a
Carlos,
visionary. Yeah.
yeah. I went and sat in with, Carlos Santana does a
Mm.
residency here at the House of Blues at the Mandalay Bay, and occasionally I go sit in with him, play a couple numbers. And the other night I went. He's actually going to play uh, Woodstock in January. There's, they got the Performing Arts Theater up on the hill where the original site was, Bethel
Yeah.
Woods.
Yeah. Yep.
Bethel Woods. And he asked me, if he goes, come on by and play a couple numbers if you're in town. And then I'm actually going to Europe at the end of July, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it, but it's possible. I think it's the July 17 or 18. They're going to perform there. But
Wow.
remember, it's just was all that you hear about. It's one of those just unique things. There is only one. It will
Yeah.
only happen once. There is no Woodstock tour. People,
Right.
it's not the same thing. But the spirit of it, and actually, Carlos has been talking to me about wanting to do a movie and a series of concerts, not Woodstock Revisited or anything like that, but we were there and we experienced it. We were part of what created it. And to try to bring that spirit musically, again, I don't know what it would be called, but
Mhm.
I could talk about it. Talk about it for maybe 25 next year, 2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That would be
that
amazing.
yeah, that could be exciting. And to have, anybody that's around still that was there,
Mhm.
then plus new and all in between, and new young up and coming, musical entities that would be part of this. And it's got legs. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's great that you're involved in these things that are important parts of like preserving the history of all these events. It's great that you're engaged in it. And I'm just thinking, if I have the math right, you were like 20 years old when you played at Woodstock. Is that you born in
19 or
40?
20. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was August of 2000 of 2000 1969.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I was like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you stick around for a lot of the, I mean, I know people were flying in and out. You maybe might have been on tour and came in for your part of it, or did you get to see a lot of the other acts that were there that day or those days,
We
or?
got in Saturday afternoon. We were supposed to play Saturday. We were supposed to originally play Saturday evening at 8 p.m. We didn't play till 3 a.m. Sunday morning. And that was
That's wild.
quite the challenge. And I mean, there must have been four or five, Michael coming in, or getting in touch with us saying, okay, we're going to go on. No, no, okay, we got to wait. No, another hour. Sorry, man. Sorry, please, and it's like you get your adrenaline up and, you go to, and then it didn't happen. And so finally at 3 a.m. And by that time, it was raining. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. People were already there for a couple of days. They were beat up and just sleeping and like, who cares? It's like you got to go on and play and, entertain these people and get the spirits up. And it was quite a challenge, but we realized, at the end of the day, just before we went on, we just kind of like all kind of, gathered and said, all we could do is go on and give it our all and just, give
Yeah.
do the best we can and just deal with the situation. So we did, and about, second, third song, about the third song, people start coming out of their tents and sleeping bags. What's going on here, and they
Yeah.
got into it, and the rest is history. You see it, you could feel it in the film, man. It was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. It was amazing.
It had to be. And so, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
Just one of a kind. I mean, I've
Yeah.
played other concerts where there, huge crowds. That was probably the biggest at that time. But there was just nothing like it,
Yeah.
nothing like it. Yeah.
No, I was going to say that I knew you guys went on in the middle of the night. I wasn't sure what time, but
Mhm.
I wondered that, like, what it was like for you guys, like your energy level. I'm sure once you got on stage, you guys rose to the occasion, and then the crowd had to their energy then, of course, drives you guys even more. And
Back and
yeah,
forth. Yeah.
the feeding off the crowd, and just knowing what it was like in those days as far as like the sound. I mean, how much time did you have between when the act before you finished and you guys came on? Did you have time to kind of get your drums sorted out, or even?
Well, we had people handling that.
Yeah.
The turnaround times were usually about, I don't know, 20 minutes to 30 minutes, uh,
So that was, yeah.
closer to 20. But I remember some guys telling me, oh, in the recent past, the first time I had heard about this, and I didn't know it in real time. And he goes, "Do you know that?" Because some guy was telling me, he was on the crew, and he goes, "You know that when during your guys' set, there was about 10 to 15 of us. It ended up being that many had gathered underneath the stage to hold up the stage because it was going
Oh my
right."
God.
We weren't there when we realized that started happening. We got about right down there. We're holding up the stage. And would have came
Oh,
through.
oh my God. Oh,
And I go,
wow.
no, I didn't realize that at the time, but thank you for telling me, and God bless you. Wow, yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
man. I mean, do you remember what it even sounded like on stage? Could you even hear
yeah.
yourselves?
I could still feel the pull. There was a couple points in time, one specifically where it was like it felt like a freight train. It felt like a big freight train going down the tracks, and you could hear that rhythm. And I think it was during. It was either higher um yeah, I'm pretty sure it was higher. And as a matter of fact, someone, I think it was Larry, told me once, because Larry was hanging with Prince for many years, and he said he called him into the room. Larry Graham, he called him in. Prince called him into the studio, and he puts this thing on, and it's like the bass and drums of that evening, and he goes, "Freight train." I remember that. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like that. One of those moments where we would experience this occasionally. We just look at each other and know we got this, man. It's like this thing that happened. It was like, you know, it was much bigger than you. You just
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're riding on it. But it was a very powerful pulse and thing that was going on that, would just happen, and we lock it. We knew when we got it, we locked into it and just took it as far as it could take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of those moments.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it was. I just think about times like that, you know, unlike a lot of the concerts today where you guys were like, you didn't have time to think about the fact that, man, we just got here and I got 20 minutes to just make sure all my shit's together. It was like, you felt the vibe. You get up there, you played. If your hi-hat was moving a little bit or your ride wasn't in the right spot, you just didn't matter. You just
You overpowered
channeled
it.
it.
It used to
Yeah.
happen a lot in those days, actually.
Yeah.
You know, the equipment production wasn't what it is today.
Right.
Sound, everything, the hardware for the drums. I used to have to time my stuff down, really speaking of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, so yeah, you know, you would do your thing and get it set up the best you could. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter if something was out of place or getting ready to fall, whatever, you just overpowered it and just
Yeah.
sometimes I look at some of this footage and go, you're hearing one thing, but it doesn't look like, you know, it's just where's that coming from? It's like, wow, you know, it amazes me. But that's the spirit of music. When you
Yeah.
got chemistry and you got that deep connection happen, that happens. And you
Mhm.
can see that in other groups too. It's like you're looking at this old film footage and you're hearing and feeling the sound and go, this what am I, how come it doesn't look like that, you know? It's the sound is not relating. It's good, you know, it's a good thing. I'm not talking about a bad thing. Anyway,
No, no, I'm fascinated by all that stuff, Greg, because I watch those documentaries and I see you guys, just what you said, you just overpower whatever the obstacles might be of just, you're there for the music, you know, you're there for the music and everything else is secondary. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, we'll make it
It's a
work, man.
powerful thing, you know. I mean, you could
Yeah,
feel it when you were doing it, you know, but looking at it again 40, 50 years later or something, it's still there. You know,
yeah.
it wasn't like you're just in that moment and you feel it then if it, you know, goes away. No, it was captured, it's there, whatever that thing is. It's kind of like some kind of voodoo, some kind of magic.
Well, I want to play a couple of more Sly songs, and I know we're getting on in the time here, so I won't keep you too long. But I think my friend Dave Ossickinen had asked to hear "I Want to Take You Higher,"
Okay.
and I thought we'll play a little bit of that. And there's so many great songs. I think that was the song Dave said, but we'll play a little bit of this anyway, just because.
Okay.
Beat is getting stronger. Music getting longer too. I want to take you higher.
Hope you don't mind me fading it there. Man, that's required listening for every drummer. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love where Larry's playing that. He's playing that pulse, and then every measure, every two measure, he does it. Sounds like a dinosaur.
Are you playing some little tricky bass drum parts in there too that I'm
Yeah,
hearing? Yeah.
it's a pattern, but it's not an even pattern, and I never wrote it out. But
Yeah.
again, there's that picture in my mind. It was very specific, and it wasn't an even pattern that repeated like every four or every eight or every six. It was like an odd pattern. So that bass drum pattern uh, would continuously evolve throughout the song. So it would end up in a different place in the next four than it was
I
in the
see.
last four.
Gotcha.
And if you check that out, if you try to write it out, that's what you'll find.
Okay, I'm going to really listen closely because when I go running, I play these songs and at the mercy of these AirPods that I'm wearing
Right.
but you can hear you're playing some really intricate, tricky little
Yeah.
parts there with the bass drum.
And that's what I found made that song work. Otherwise, it just made it work. I mean, it made it it worked with it. Where there's a lot of songs where, yeah, it's an even pattern that repeats itself in the four or the eight measure, um, and that is uneven. Another one would be where I did that kind of thing was in Thank You, which
Mhm.
is a simpler pattern, but it had that revolving thing where in the measure, uh, whatever I was playing didn't repeat itself in the same place,
Yeah, yep. Let's play a little bit of that
Yeah.
if you'll let me if you'll
Yeah.
indulge me.
So that I had thing.
Oh man, Mr. Hi-Hat. Yeah.
Fingers start shaking. I began to run. Bullets start chasing. I began to stop. We began to wrestle. I was on the top. Thank you for letting me be myself again. Thank you for letting me be myself again. Stiff all in the collar, look me in the face. Chit chat chatter trying, it's look me in the place. Thank you for the party, but I could never stay. Many things on my mind, words in the way. Thank you for letting me be myself again. Thank you for letting me be myself again. Dance to the
Yeah.
music all night long. Everyday people sing the simple song. Mama's so happy. can make it cry. I want to thank you for letting me be myself again. Thank you for letting me be myself again.
The opening closed hi-hat too is such a big part of that. You know, that groove just, God, it's just, yeah,
It's funky.
it's funky, man. It's so funky. It's so funky. And the feel. I mean, I just keep coming back to that. It just feels so great.
Yeah.
It drives that song like beautifully. Yeah,
Yeah, I love
masterful.
playing that. I love playing that. And that's one of those where, again, that the bass drum pattern, uh, it wasn't always in the same place. And I could be going along with it and not sometimes predict and sometimes not predict what I was going to do next, because it evolved and it was in real time, but
Yeah.
it's not even.
And
No.
were a lot of these songs, I wanted to ask you this at the beginning, were a lot of these songs done in like a couple of takes, one, two, like they came together pretty quick as far as recording them?
Some, and this one was one of those where I had mentioned earlier, we did like, 10 versions of it.
Yeah.
And one had
Yep.
nothing to do with the other.
Yeah.
This one took a while, to come about.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. But I understand that. And that's when you get a song like we just listened to, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so the fundamental melodic rhythmic part of this is the two guitar parts and the bass part that make up that thing. Now, he wasn't able to, for whatever the reason, he wasn't able to realize that part, like I said before, like I mentioned earlier, until we had the track.
Hmm.
Now, I probably have somewhere the original track before, um, before he went in and did, like I told you, came and actually laid down those, got those three parts to how he wanted it, like what he was
Hmm.
hearing in his head. But he couldn't get to that, like I said, until we had the first uh base, basic track right. And I don't remember what that was. And then again, I went back in and overdubbed and laid the drums again after the song was complete, just before mixing.
Wow.
you know. So I don't even, I don't, this is so long ago. I don't remember if the basic track wasn't what probably was not what you're hearing there. It's,
Hmm.
you
Wow.
know,
That's
it'd be
wild.
interesting if I could, I still have like old tapes. I don't know if they're playable and stuff because stuff deteriorates over time, but it would be interesting. Matter of fact, I was just talking to Michael Carabello, the original conga player with Santana.
Yeah.
We stayed in touch over the years. And he actually did a version with him playing on it. And it was totally different groove. It was a little bit more on tempo, totally different groove.
Yeah.
And I know I have that tape. And like I said, I was speaking to him coincidentally today. So yeah, this song went through a lot of evolution before it ended up to be the statement that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it is too.
Yeah.
And what you ended up playing on it, I think, I can't imagine any other part. You know what I mean? It's when you hear
Yeah.
that song, it's so definitive. It's so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I bet there's a lot of guys who say, man, I wish I could have done that over. I would have did it just a little bit different like this. Or even, if it was like the shit, but I had the opportunity to do that on these and I took full advantage of it.
Hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I learned today, that you did that you were able to go in and do that. But I'm going to play one more song. It's kind of my personal favorite. We were talking about it a little earlier, but it sounds to me that you look back at this period and you're proud of your work. And I know I know things got a little weird toward the end of your time with the band, and as what it happens with bands, I know. But I just want to commend you, Greg, for just all these years later that you can, you know, everything I've read about you and heard you say about it, you really have such a positive outlook about all the music you created, and it's great to see that. You know,
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I mean, I feel like you do. I feel good about it. I feel proud. I still love
yeah,
playing this stuff, and yeah, I mean, as far as I wish it could be, all the. I mean, just up until recently, all the original members were still with us here, but
yeah.
it passed a couple years ago. Everyone else is still around, but it's just that was then, but I'm honored and grateful to have what we were able to do for those few moments
Hmm.
and captured, and on a campus, and being able to still enjoy it this day and give other people joy and inspire people. It's just fantastic. I'm blessed.
That's great, man. Yeah, you know, I love hearing that. I love hearing that, that you feel that way. And Andy Newmark is a good friend of mine, and he takes every opportunity to commend you and all the incredible playing that you did. And he talks about his time with the band, and he says,
Yeah.
I know you know this, and he says, Greg Errico, man, he's the guy that played on all those songs. What you think about all those hits, and it's when you look at how you did that in 4 or 5 years. I mean, the music that you
Yeah.
guys made, it's incredible, Greg. It's
It's 5 years, that run. Yeah. I was
yeah.
able to see Andy, a couple years ago. We played Ronnie Scott's, the Family Stone
Oh
played
yeah.
Ronnie Scott's here in London, and he was there, and I had the honor of asking him to come up and lay down a couple of the songs, and he did. It was great getting together with him. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, he's a sweetheart, man. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
guy. Yeah. Well, and so are you, man. And you're such an inspiration, to everybody, to all the comments. Yeah, that people are writing here. It's just it's great. I mean,
I'd love to
I'm
see
not
it.
the yeah. Well, you'll see it afterward if you go into Facebook. You'll see all the comments, and
Okay.
yeah. But I'm gonna play "Stand."
Okay.
I think this song is another masterful bit of drumming by yourself, and the whole song, of course. And we talked about that little, almost minute long jam session at the end, and I just love what you played during the song, and then the way you just sort of turn things around at the end. It's masterful. It's just so great.
I'll have to think about that thought of taking that and reimagining it and laying it down and letting it go.
Yeah, yeah, that would be something. That would be something. And it's interesting when you talked about Buddy Rich being an influence, because the way you open this song with that press roll, so that's that makes sense. A little bit
Yeah,
of
I never thought about that, but yeah, maybe that came from him. Who knows?
yeah,
Subconsciously.
it's great, man. Here it comes, Stand. This is such a
Okay.
great song.
In the end, you'll still be you. One that's done all the things you set out to do. Stand, there's a cross for you to bear. Things to go through if you're going anywhere. Stand for the things you know are right. It's the truth that the truth makes them so alive. Stand, all the things you want are real. You have you to complete, and there is no deal. Man, you've been sitting much too long. There's a permanent crease in your right and wrong. Stand, there's a midget standing tall. giant beside him about to fall. They will try to make you crawl, and they know what you're saying makes sense at all. Stand, don't you know that you are free? Well, at least in your mind, if you want to be. Everybody stand.
Here it comes. Oh, man. Greg, those last 45 seconds, that alone puts you at the top of the mountain.
All right, man.
I'm telling you, that you could have just done that and everybody would just go like this.
I could remember when that first came out. Actually, my cousin called me and she goes, "How come you guys did that to the end? You didn't keep going, man." I never forget that. And definitely right, because ever since it's been a thing, like, why did you develop that? Who knows?
Yeah, it's well, well, I was going to say it's a tease. It's enough to make everybody want more too. It's just
exactly.
I love that, man. I could listen to that over and over, that whole song, but that section is just, it's so badass. It's, yeah.
Hey, thank you for having me on your fantastic drum room.
Oh, man.
The drum room.
Thank you for being here today, Greg. You are a hero, an inspiration, and I so appreciate you being here today, and thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, hang with me if you would 1 second, and I'll end the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. Big hand for the great Greg Errico, man. And thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Ciao.
All right. Well, that's my show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember, all episodes are available as podcasts on all the podcast platforms. But I also want to share some very exciting news with you. I've recently created a scholarship through the Percussive Arts Society. It's a Live from My Drum Room scholarship, and at 100% of the proceeds from all Live from My Drum Room t-shirts will go toward that scholarship. So if you've bought a t-shirt, thank you very much for supporting this. If you're interested in buying a t-shirt, I'm going to give you that information right now. Shirts are available for $25, and that includes the shipping within the contiguous 48 U.S. states. And they're available in sizes extra small to double XL. The Venmo payment information is at John-DeChristopher-2. Again, at John-DeChristopher-2. Please be sure to give me your size and shipping address. And you can email me with any questions at livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com. 100% of the proceeds go toward this PAS scholarship, Live from My Drum Room. I thank you so much for your support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And remember, no drummers are harmed on any show. I'll see you again real soon.